there was a reason I wanted to have all of you on today.
I
You
loved it.
I was
No, I'm down.
I I mean,
So
I
interesting.
joke with Steven, but I wish he would be the governor.
Hey, listen, he might be. He might be one day. So
No,
I love
no,
that.
he uh, again, I'm very lucky to know both of them and several other people
Amazing.
here in this city.
They're doing awesome stuff.
They are. All right, so you're back in the game.
I'm back in the game. I'm back.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what you were up to since you had that, because you've been consulting for a minute. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
just walk us through the past little bit of stretch of time here.
Yeah, like I really took a minute to consult because I wanted to sort of re-immerse myself and really rethink and remind myself what is it that I really love the most. And so, I've been brand side at Disney, I had been
Mhm.
platform side at Twitter, I had done media at Essence Ventures, and had been a minute since I had really touched agency proper. And that was my first love. That was just where I cut my teeth. I love the pace of agencies, but
Mhm.
I was real not happy with the direction that the ad industry has sort of been
Sure.
going in, right? There's a lot of, I felt sort of cowering and about facing, and it's not just our industry, but I think um it really sort of, I wanted to know if I still felt a passion here. So I took
Mm.
some time and I did just that. I was able to bounce around. I did some work at IPG agencies. I did some work at WPP agencies. And then I got a call from Tara DeVoe, who's incredible.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
our amazing fearless leader here at Burrell, and we got a chance to work on some incredible work that she's building and launching this year, and it just felt right. And I remember we were having lunch or breakfast or something after having worked on a couple of projects together, and I was like, man, I haven't had fun like this
Oh,
in a long time. It was
right.
hard, arduous work. It was, high stress, and we were trying to get some stuff out the gate. And I just had a blast. I love the team, but more so, I love the vision of what Tara was building. I loved the vision of what she felt was still possible in our industry. And so when we started having conversations about something being a little bit more permanent, it just felt like the exact next step, because I'm not done with this industry yet. And the year of consulting made me not want to back away more, but made me want to actually like kick the door in again, as you know I love to
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
Shake it up
We're
again,
we're related in that respect. Yes.
flip some tables again. And Burrell had the energy and the spirit, like absolutely, like salute, like let's go. And so
Right.
that's sort of what landed me here, and I'm extremely, extremely excited about
Yeah, and here's the thing about Burrell is that it has a well-earned and well-deserved pedigree,
it. Yes,
history, reputation, yet it's also growing, evolving, and
yes,
moving, and I know you well enough to know that you would never go into a situation unless you knew that there was more runway, that there was like,
right,
"Okay, it's like I see where you're going with this, and and this agency has an incredible history, it has an
exactly.
but there's a new history to be written here." So I mean, talk about the conversations of coming back, because
Mm.
nothing's sometimes it's an easy yes, sometimes it's a not easy yes, but
Yeah,
you've touched a little bit on it, but
yeah,
taking all of that, the history, the pedigree, the excellence, like all those things.
right.
How did you get to yes?
So I think there was a couple, I think, things that for me, I realized sort of need to be clarified for myself to feel that I can actually drive impact and that I'm feeling fulfilled as a professional and an executive. And so, and that I'm making a difference. And
Mhm,
I think some of the things that were most important to me, and you think about the history, like as a Black woman in advertising, what
mhm,
Tom Burrell built, what he proved was possible, what he, created for the industry that shaped my life and my profession, and how I've been able to make an impact is historic. The legacy of it was built on the idea that, we can build something in the way we need to speak to not only our community, but many other communities by understanding them. And I wanted to ensure that that ethos remained intact and sort of remained the building blocks and the foundation of what the next evolution and era could be. And
Hmm.
that was, true. And having discussions with Kari Streeter, our chief creative officer, and Tara DeVoe. And I think that sort of really invigorated me to know that we could build the next era together in legacy of the foundation of what was there. The other piece, though, as I mentioned, was that there has to be sort of a fearlessness
Mm.
to what could be.
Hmm.
And what was sort of making me feel like, I know this ain't the industry I know and love, was I was watching people be like, I don't know, I'm scared. You know what I mean? And
Right.
should we? That is not us. Like, we
Mm-mm.
are I don't know, let's try it. And if it bombs, it bombs. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Or what could this be? When I left the industry, agency side in 2018, it was with the role I had created, that had
Yeah.
never been done before. And so the idea that as I come back with, wealth and many more years of experience and things to offer back to the industry, I'm ready to build the next thing that's new and
Hmm.
solve the problems that exist now. And that is the driving sort of ideology that Burrell is wrapping its arms around. And so that once those two sort of pieces were clarified and very early on it was an easy yes, for sure.
I get that. I get that. Um, Confidence is really, really important.
Yes.
That piece of it. And listen, you're not going to get everything right, but I think if you are going to step on eggshells, then you know you may not grow. I just
Right.
you're gonna have to find out whether it's gonna work
Like,
or
we're just
not,
gonna have
right?
to find out. Exactly.
We're just
Exactly.
gonna have to find out. I want to talk a little bit about how you are going to approach because you in this leadership role with your team. I'm interested in what you and I know you might not have the full answer now, but
Yeah, sure.
but an idea of what you're gonna be looking for in talent, especially younger and new talent. So people who might be new to
Mm,
the business, or maybe they were in accounts and they wanna shift over to strategy
yeah.
or what are you gonna be looking for? And what do you believe makes a great strategist now?
Wow, that's a great question. I think about this
I'm due
a
for one a
lot.
week, so that's it. This is my
Right.
one for the
This
week.
is it. You hit
Yeah.
your quota. I think, when I think about strategy, I think about, and it sounds a little cliche, but connections
Mhm.
among how people see the world. And so it's sometimes, I think what was even more frustrating to me when you think about sort of how job searches are happening now. There's a lot of AI and a lot of
Right.
keyword based ways to try and understand people's propensity or potential to be great at something. When to me, strategy is specifically a lot more intuitive. It's a lot
Mhm.
more of how you put things together. And so understanding that, you know, looking at the behavior of people and then saying, well, okay, I'm seeing how this group of people is reacting something now, but that also reminds me of just 30 years ago, these people felt like this, or this
Mm.
happened to them. And it's interesting that if they're on the East Coast of the United States, they feel differently than if they're on the West Coast. And when this happens and this force scares them, this is
Yep.
how they retreat, right? So that's a lot. It's not just memes or social conversation. It's history. It's understanding nuance of identity. It's understanding the language that people use to describe how they feel about things. It's understanding how people talk about things on one platform versus another platform.
Right,
And
right.
so we're looking at that sort of, to me, I call it the onion. Like, it's like a blooming
Oh,
onion. And
sure,
it, like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you got to go in and peel back the layers. And I feel that that is a sort of intuitive talent. And it's not always just I look at data, I come to a conclusion, I draw the
Right,
insight out,
right,
and then I come up with a really pithy one liner.
right.
One of the best hires I ever made in my career and who is still to this day thriving over at a WPP agency, I hired her out of HR.
Oh,
And
interesting.
she is and was for me one of the best strategic thinkers I've ever worked with, right? Who just but the
Huh.
way she talked about how she connected problem solving to understanding the behaviors of people, right? It didn't have to be even in a brand side
Right.
role. That to me signaled that she had the potential to solve really interesting problems because she's able to sort of look at this wheel of insights and then draw really sharp conclusions. So I want to show people that, if you sit and you're looking at how people think or
Right.
why would they feel this way and you're able to draw these conclusions, you might not be in the traditional keyword based role or even industry. And I don't want that to be a barrier because I think the
Right.
more people we can bring in, the richer our work becomes.
Yeah, and I think that it's interesting because what you're talking about is perceived as soft skills, right?
Right,
So if you're
right.
working in HR, it's like, but that's what you got to look at,
That's what you got
and
to look at.
it's really interesting because if you treat a soft skill as soft, which I think is it's not the I don't think it's the right way to really classify that. It's
Right.
just I think it's unique skills. I
Yeah,
think if you
it
look at
is.
it, like, because every individual is unique and they're gonna bring something unique. So we just coined something. Look at us.
Look
Um,
at us. We do this. This is what we do.
but yeah, it's just digging a little bit deeper. All right.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be April 15th, 2026. What are we talking about?
Oh man. Oh my
And then
God.
I got one more
Well,
question and you know where
I
this one's
still look
going.
fabulous. You look
Oh yeah.
amazing.
No, I'm old.
Your skin's glowing. I think
Yeah.
we're talking about the we are looking at people who are challenging and thinking differently about everything,
Hmm.
whether they thought they were going to or not, right?
Right.
I think where I really am focusing my energy now is to really build, and I keep calling it this, and maybe it's a little cliche, but I want to build this sort of strategic strategic operational center of excellence at Burrell.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yep.
You see what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like this sort of I was just having a conversation with someone on my team where I'm saying this conversation is moving so fast. It is actually telling us something that we may need to know about this client's business. And it is happening in the last 2 weeks of
Mm,
the sentiment that is changing, right? And so when I think about next year, what I hope to build and showcase is that when you're looking at audience-based strategy, Burrell at Burrell, we say we are powered by the people,
yep.
which means that drives everything that we do and how we understand them, right? So the outputs that you see, the inputs were people. And that is what they told us, how we understand them from what we see from data and insights. We have an amazing segmentation tool called the Cultural Compass. Um, and all of that together should guide us. And I think in next year, what I would love to show is really the way that you understand nuanced audiences.
Mhm.
Um, it allows you to really dig deeper and extrapolate how to better understand the world, right? So I think about, when people think about Burrell, it's a multicultural agency. A lot of times in our industry, let's keep it straight up. They would have a little budget for us,
Right, right,
right? And
right,
then
right,
there's
right.
this other budget. I'm like, well, who is that budget for? Like, I
Right.
remember trying to ask, like, what does that mean? And Tara
Mhm.
will tell you the whole world is multicultural. But when I think about specifically being a Black owned agency, understanding one of the most globally influential cultures in the world and understanding one of the most powerful cultures with sort of culture as its biggest global export,
Mhm.
starting with understanding that group allows us to really break down how we understand so many audiences and
Yep.
apply this. So this sort of box that multicultural often gets put in where
Right.
people think you do US Hispanic or you do Black audiences, that is really a strategic, incredible proxy that gives homage to culture driving groups, but allows us to set up a way to extrapolate that and scale it in how we understand the world. So I would love to sort of prove that out
Mm-hmm.
in the way that we approach the business, want to win some business, want to
Yeah.
continue to do great with the clients that we have, and really just talk about, I think, defeating that antiquated notion
Yeah.
around what Black owned or multicultural serving groups
Yep.
can do, because the entire world is multicultural.
And I would say that multicultural influence as opposed to multicultural impact, in
Correct.
addition to rather, because I grew up, so mom's side's Italian,
Right.
but I used to listen to funk and soul growing up. I gravitated more towards Black comedy. Like it
Yeah.
was just,
You love hip hop. That's how we
right.
bonded.
Right,
Mhm.
right. And then there's on the flip side of it, going backwards, it's like all the mafia stuff in hip hop. I was like,
I mean,
it's like
there's
I'm like,
that too.
I was
Irv
like, huh? I
Gotti.
was like, Irv Gotti. Okay, all right, whatever.
Lots of that.
Right,
Capone Noriega.
but oh my god. Okay, taking me back a minute.
Taking you back a minute.
Yeah, but I mean, it is that influence, and it will have varying degrees, right? So
Right.
as somebody who maybe grew up more in a white culture, but having the varying degrees of influence, that influence is always going to be there. So when you say
Mhm.
multicultural, you're right. It's so boxed into this one little area, as opposed to, my experience was very, very different. And, I
Right.
grew up in a very white town, but I also had other influences externally that still, that helped me grow up, but also influenced me. And we talked about my time 5 years in hip hop radio.
Yeah,
I mean, that
exactly.
was that was like one of the anchors of not just my career, but my life. And so I think that impact is really important, and being able to tell that story is really important too. All right, we're gonna get to the last question. You know where I'm gonna go
Oh,
with this. Are you
oh
good?
no. Okay, am I ready?
All right. So Halloween's your holiday.
Oh no! You're gonna try and get it out of me. Oh my gosh.
Okay. When I say, and I'm saying this to everybody, when I say that Goddess and her family go big on Halloween, that is a vast understatement. We've had the entire Rockford Peaches from
Oh yes.
League of Their Own.
That was a
Refresh
big
my
hit.
memory. What were a few more?
Oh, we've had
Uh,
Stay Puffed and
State.
the Woman
Yes.
Ghostbusters. Yeah, we've
Yes.
done that. Last year was a fave. We've got Dion and Cher from Clueless and
Yep.
Murray. That was a good time.
Can you?
Power Rangers.
uh, You're not going to give me a hint, are you?
I cannot see, like, you don't even understand. April is our planning month. We've
Oh,
got,
oh, oh, oh.
yes.
Okay.
So we've
Okay.
got a family vote coming up at the end of this month. We'll make a decision. I have narrowed it down to three that I think are great. And so
Or
you will
just give
be
just give me like an era. Like just
okay. Um, I'm a '90s girl. I like to,
okay.
that was my one of my
Okay.
favorite eras. '90s hip hop, '90s
Mhm.
shows, all the things. So I like to keep it. Okay, I like
90s.
to keep it vintage. So maybe a little IP you might recognize, but it could get vetoed. My daughter has a veto vote, so
Well, she should.
she
Yeah.
has to, right?
No,
So
no,
it's
no.
only three.
Kids
And
get the
also, I
veto.
will say the family of three gets a little trickier to be as impactful, but I put my research in. Research period is December to April. Then when I make my decisions, we make a vote. Rest of the year we focus on.
I'm not even gonna try, because it's like it's going in so many different directions right now. It's going in so many.
I know.
All I know is it will be spectacular.
Yes, they
That's
will.
all I
My
know.
favorite holiday.
And
My favorite
also, what is spectacular is that you are back in the game.
back
You're
in the
back with
game.
us. You're back in the
Yes.
game, and you're with some amazing people at Burrell. Goddess, I'm going to put you backstage. This isn't a Zoom call, so hang out for a minute so I can
All
give you a
righty.
proper goodbye. But thanks for joining us, and welcome back.
Bye.
All righty. All right, everybody. That was really good. And I'm just glad that's the thing about indie agency news. We like bringing people together. We like bringing members together. We like telling their stories so that they can build new stories together. I like it. Yeah, it feels good. Feels good. And a reminder that for our members, you're going to be getting your sister city assignments. And when I say assignment, it's just you're going to be getting your sister cities. And the whole point of that is we just want you to get to know each other. And when we started this, we had Cincinnati and Reykjavik, and they meet every month, and they're still doing stuff. So among our members, that's coming to you soon. Also coming soon will be our first live streams for our top 40 design. The scoring is in. And we're going to start doing that the week of April 28th. And then we're going to hit the road I guess that's technically the first week of May. So starting May 5th, we're going to be doing that. But we're going to be revealing those winners. And then we're going to get right into the next one before we head up to Cannes. Also, we will be at Cannes Lions. So if you are going, we'll chat about that a little bit later. On behalf of everybody at Indie Agency News, thanks so much for joining us. To our members, thank you for supporting this mission. See you next time.